Smaulgld.
Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. Tonight is Sunday, the 11th of November, 2018, and we're going to do the top gold and silver and crypto stories for the week ended November 11th, 2018. Tonight, we're going to do that live. But before we do that, and we're going to be talking about the former JP Morgan trader who pled guilty to manipulating the precious metals markets from 2009 to 2015. And we're going to talk about what that means. But first, let's take a look at our gold and silver prices. The markets are back open, and gold is pretty much flat at $12.09, up 30 cents from the close on Friday. Silver up 3 cents from the close on Friday, and that's at $14.17. So not much movement in the precious metals markets so far. Over in crypto, it's the same story. Bitcoin up just 0.25% at $63.72. Bitcoin Cash down 3.17% at $5.29. Ethereum pretty much flat at $210.86. Litecoin down about 1.5% or 1.5% at 51, and Ethereum Classic at 9.24. So let's get into the top gold, silver, and crypto stories for the week ended November 11th, 2018, and then we're going to take some of your questions and comments. We got a moron here.
Presenting the distinguished international news commentator and foreign correspondent,
Smaulgld.
This has been an extraordinary week in world affairs.
No, I told Hillary Clinton that that's moronic.
All right, let's take a look at some of the stories we're going to be covering for the week in review. Well, former JP Morgan trader pleads guilty to manipulating but not suppressing the precious metals markets. There's an important distinction that we're going to have to draw there. All right, Democrats win the House, Republicans hold the Senate in the midterm elections. We're going to get a little color on that. Florida, Arizona, and the Georgia races are still contested. Attorney General Jeff Sessions has resigned. The White House tosses Jim Acosta from the press pool, and now he's going to sue. In Thousand Oaks, California, hit with a mass shooting and a very devastating forest fire, which struck portions of Ventura County and also into Westlake Village and parts of western Los Angeles. And a $62 million Litecoin transaction was sent for 50 cents. That's 50 cents right there. $62 million. All right, so you know during the week, each and every night we try to get out we try to do a live stream with your participation, and that's available on on YouTube every night, which you would know if you're listening live. But you can also catch it on the Smaulgld website the next day. You can catch it the next day on BitChute as well. And this week we've covered most of the week's news. We did cover Tropical Trump, that is Bolsonaro, and the issues that they're having, China may be having with Brazil. Remember, Brazil is one of the BRICS that are going to go out and crush the dollar. That story is getting more and more tame and lame, as there's really no such thing as the BRICS teaming up to crush the dollar. China is worried that Bolsonaro, as Tropical Trump, may be changing the game there in between the deals that they have with China. So you could check that out. Trouble in BRICS land, Tropical Trump, Bolsonaro threatens Chinese world order. We did a video on that during the week. We also did Chinese silver stackers versus American silver stackers. You want to check that one out. We actually learned that Americans buy more silver than the Chinese in the aggregate, not even per capita. Chinese are not big silver stackers, according to the Silver Institute. You want to check that out. There's some good charts in there. Silver is as an investment metal, is very big in the United States, not so much anywhere else in the U.S. And I do attribute that to a very strong YouTube presence. We have a number of silver channels that promote silver as the second coming of something or other, and people really do like silver in the United States, whereas the rest of the world tends to store and save in gold. We had another video out with Sessions resigning, Rosenstein out, and what the post-election midterms meant. We also did a story, a YouTube, Trust the Scam, and it's the first time I've ever weighed in on QAnon. I've generally left that story alone, but after I saw a lot of the Q people talking about how somehow Sessions getting fired was part of the plan, I had to weigh in because they had been saying all along that Sessions, part of the plan was Sessions was going to do nothing, and then he was going to come off the canvas like Muhammad Ali in a rope-a-dope and basically send out 60,000 indictments, arrest everybody, and it was all a ruse that Trump was not really against him. He was just pretending to be against him. And I thought all along that's a foolish plan if it is a plan, because Sessions allowing Trump to have two of his main guys, Manafort, Flynn, and then his own lawyer Cohen, indicted as a result of the Russian investigation, which never would have happened if he had an attorney general who wasn't recused. It just seemed like a foolish plan to allow that to happen, to allow half the country to believe now, because they've been touting this Russian collusion Mueller investigation for 2 years, to actually believe that he is Putin's puppet, and also to be able to raise money. The Democrats raised money on that narrative. They actually won the House partially because of the ginned up charges against President Trump. So I never thought that was part of the plan, and you would think that the Q people would start to listen, or start not to listen, but start to think about how maybe that's not part of the plan. But what they did was they rolled in Sessions getting fired as being part of the plan, in that now Sessions is unleashed and he can go run military tribunals, and then the new attorney general can proceed with the indictments. Now, the reason that's foolish is you never had to have Sessions in the first place. You could have had any attorney general filling out all these supposed indictments and then not having the Russian investigation and then indicting the people as they went along. So I don't believe in this. I think that Q is just taking credit for everything that happens, predict some things right, predict some things wrong. Anyway, I probably won't be talking much more about Q, but I thought that I let it go for about a year, and I finally weighed in on it. Okay, central banks are preparing for global warming. We covered that the other day, a speech made by one of the big guys at the ECB talking about how central banks need to conduct monetary policy with an eye on global warming. You might want to check that out, or climate change. And then last night we did a live stream about here comes the bacon-backed or the ham-backed or the pork-backed yuan. It was a game changer. We talked about a company that was unable to pay its bills, was cash-strapped, and ended up working out a deal with its creditors to pay them in ham gift baskets. So that is a bacon-backed yuan, a real game changer. All right, let's look at the gold and silver. Well, last week, we know where the gold and silver are. We just gave you those numbers. I'll repeat them for you. Gold is at 1208.9 and silver is at 1416. Only thing we need to cover then is the gold silver ratio ended the week at 85.47. That's another one of my, I don't know if it's a pet peeve, but I keep listening to the Silver Pumper channel saying it's unsustainable. Should be 16 to 1, 9 to 1. Not going to get into that tonight, but I've also been saying for the last 5 years that it is indeed sustainable and could go higher, and it has gone higher. But they live in hope that somehow silver is going to be triple digits. And anyway, we're not going to get into that tonight. Let's get into the news of the week. All right. So, by the way, this video, the way I normally do it is this, you watch it on the screen when it's loaded. You won't be able to see anything. But if you want to see the stories that we're covering, tomorrow you can check them out. They're all on the Smaulgld site. And you can follow along because I am following along myself, but you're just not seeing what I'm seeing. It takes up a lot of bandwidth. That's the reason I can't do it live. And even when I record, it takes up a lot of bandwidth, but at least I can upload it later. Okay, so now, we remember the caravan was coming towards the United States. They were tracking it every minute. Well, I don't hear much about it, but I think the reason you don't hear much about it is probably dissipated a lot because Trump did threaten and did send military to the border, set up barbed wire. He says he likes barbed wire. And he also issued a proclamation saying that if you show up and you enter illegally, well, then you won't be able to apply for asylum ever. That kind of takes the wind out of the sails that they're going to get in and then decide they're going to apply for asylum. So basically, they also made it sound like if you do show up, you will be retained in tents and then processed, and that doesn't sound so exciting. And I would imagine you'll see a lot of people turn around and go home, and it's no longer a campaign issue. All right. So he issued that statement. Now, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she is one of the liberal appointees on the bench. She's 85 years old, and she has not been doing well, and she actually fell, was hospitalized, and fractured 3 ribs. So now the left is concerned that she may not make it through the next 2 years, and Trump will get another Supreme Court appointee. Be very interesting what happens. I think if she does resign or retire, what might happen is we're going to get the nominee of this woman called Amy Coney Barrett. Now, she is probably of the 3 justices that Trump has, or the 2 that he's already appointed, Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, the most conservative, the most probably hostile to Roe versus Wade. So you're going to see quite a battle, although they're going to have to get Republican votes in order to do that. And you can count on Mrs. Collins from Maine probably joining in and being concerned, and Miss Murkowski in Alaska. And given that I think the Republicans may only have 52 votes after, if they don't get Arizona and or Florida in these recounts, then it may be back to what we saw last time, a big debate, and she may go down, although they may be reluctant, Murkowski and Collins, to reject someone like Amy Coney Barrett, because she is, after all, a woman. She's a woman. Okay, so we think that Miss Bader is fine, but not sure how long. It's you'd never want to have your ribs broken, and certainly at 85 years old, it's not the best thing. And if it was me, I'd retire. I would not. But she apparently is a holdout, and she does not want Trump. In fact, she said when Trump was running for president that if he won, it'd be time to go to New Zealand, which she didn't do. So, but that gives you an indication of why she's hanging on. A couple of Ninth Circuit cases. U.S. court halted construction of the Keystone XL oil pipeline, and also the appeals court ruled in the Ninth Circuit that Trump can cancel protections for undocumented immigrants, DACA, who came to U.S. as children. So it's interesting that Obama created DACA by executive order, but they're saying that Trump can't undo that order. Now, Trump has appointed, I think, 2, 3, or 4 judges to the Ninth Circuit so far, and I think he has 3 or 4 pending, and they will go through, and that might change some of the balance. The Ninth Circuit has been the court that's been the resistance, so to speak, that overrules pretty much anything that they don't like that Trump does. Now, that's also an issue that Justice Thomas, when they approved the last travel ban at the Supreme Court, he wrote a concurring opinion, but he put in what's called dicta, which is not legally binding, but he wrote basically an opinion saying that circuit court judges like the Ninth Circuit shouldn't be able to unilaterally make these types of rulings. And I think that would be a good thing if they actually got rid of that type of ruling, because they're basically ruling from their circuit on the entire country. And that's not really the role. There's nothing in the Constitution that says an appeals court can do that. We mentioned Thousand Oaks. We had an active shooter. We had 12 people lost in a bar shooting earlier in the week. And then just a couple of days later, they had a devastating forest fire that swept through that area. Now, it's interesting. I went back and I looked at the election results, and the polls had Senator Nelson in Florida up 7 points. Quinnipiac poll. It was a lot of gaslighting. They were making this out. There really was a blue wave coming according to the polls. And it's interesting that it really could have gone either way in the House. I saw 11 House seats that went for the Democrats by less than 2 points. Those are also, a lot of those races were with neophyte Republicans that were thrown in there to run as Republicans because someone had retired. so it was hard for them also to defend seats. And apparently they didn't raise a lot of money for them, so Trump spent his time on his Senate candidates, won that for the most part, but did give up some House seats as a result of the blue wave, so to speak, but also because you had 44 retiring Republican congressmen and a lot of money or presidential effort put into those races. And they were talking about a massacre in Politico. But one of the things that is a big takeaway from the results in the House is that the GOP will be able to ram through some more district and appellate court judges, and the Democrats with the House will be able to make a lot of requests for documents, basically investigating the president, his tax returns, and so on. So what'll be interesting is that'll be an attempt to take him down while the Senate is basically plowing through their judicial appointees. At least I think that's going to happen. And then, of course, Trump has the Trump card, which is if it gets out of hand, he'll start declassifying a bunch of documents and then also probably ask for Senate investigations into Feinstein leaks, into Schiff leaks. So we'll see what happens there. It's going to be good theater for sure. And Trump actually said that if the Democrats think they're going to waste taxpayer money investigating us, i.e. me, at the House level, he says then we'll likewise be forced to consider investigating them for all the leaks of classified information and much else to play that game. So you know that that's going to happen one way or the other. And I don't know how long. It might carry on for 2 years, and it's probably not strategic for the Democrats to do that unless they can land a knockout blow, because otherwise they won't have anything to run on other than trying to beat him again. But, you know, you don't want to fail and then say, re-elect me because we're going to keep trying. Okay, what else happened? Let's see. Trump and Republicans. Yeah, Trump also blamed the Republicans that did lose. Not only were there some that were new, there were some that were actually incumbents that lost, and he claims they lost because he called out 4 or 5 of them by name. He said they didn't want his support, they didn't want his endorsement, and he said this woman, Mia Love from Utah, he said, too bad, Mia, sorry about that. And basically, he said to a few of them, he called them out by name, and he said, too bad, so sad. Now, Rosenstein is the Deputy Attorney General, and he is the acting supervisor, was the acting supervisor of the Mueller probe. And he actually, because Sessions recused himself from anything Russia, allowed Rosenstein to actually appoint a special counsel and then to supervise him. What this Sessions resignation, which was forced by Trump, causes is the new acting Attorney General Whitaker now takes control of, because the Attorney General is the one who's supposed to be overseeing the special counsel, not the Deputy Attorney General. The only reason Rosenstein is overseeing it is because he is not recused. But now that Sessions is gone and there's a new acting Attorney General, he takes over from Rosenstein, which is very important, which means that Mueller will have to give his report to Whitaker and not to Rosenstein. Now, Rosenstein, as you know, already has a conflict in that he is overseeing and appointed a special counsel to investigate obstruction of justice in the firing of Comey, which he actually wrote a memo to Trump advising him that he should fire Comey. So you really can't be overseeing a special counsel, an independent special counsel, when you have such a conflict, when the subject matter which the special counsel is investigating and you took a part in. You wrote the memo. So that doesn't make any sense. And also he signed the FISA warrant. And the FISA warrant is another thing that goes directly to the heart of what Mueller is investigating, which is the Trump campaign's potential Russia collusion. Well, Rosenstein signed a FISA warrant saying, look into, go ahead and look into or surveil the Trump campaign because here's what we found about Russia collusion and this is the basis of the warrant. So he shouldn't be there anyway. But it's interesting, you're seeing some Republicans like Flake, Romney, who just got elected as a senator from Utah, and Collins from Maine, acting as if he needs to stay in his position. I'm not sure what Rosenstein adds to Mueller's special counsel, and I'm not even sure why I understand why the Democrats want to protect Mueller because they think he's going to come up with something. But we haven't really determined whether Mueller really should have been appointed in the first place. But yet everyone's convinced that now that he's been appointed, he has to be, quote, protected, or at least a few Republicans actually feel that way. And Collins actually thinks that Rosenstein should be in charge of the Mueller investigation. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. All right, let's move on here to Acosta. Now, what happened with this guy Acosta is he goes to press conferences and he asks a lot of questions. And then Trump yells at him, calls him fake news, and tells him to sit down. Well, this time Acosta decided he wasn't going to sit down. He was going to continue to debate about whether the caravan was an invasion, wasn't an invasion. And what everyone's focused on now is that he asked him to sit down. He didn't sit down. And then the White House intern, a woman, went to take the microphone away from him. And he kind of put his hand up to stop her. And then she got the microphone and he finally sat down. Well, he was then had his press credentials taken away. And they said because he had, in a sense, struck the woman. Now, the striking was clear, but it was incidental really to him, you know, kind of reacting to her grabbing the microphone. But he did indeed touch her, although he didn't strike her, like he didn't try to like. But it looks like a bit of a chop, but it looks like he was raising his hand. I think that's irrelevant, or not irrelevant. That's not the main reason. I would have tossed him because he never knows when to stop. When the president says, go ahead, ask your question, you ask your question, and then he says next, and he's trying to call on someone else, and he's still talking and arguing. You know, at some point he has to be removed or he has to sit down because it's actually rude to the other press conference. People want to ask their questions. He doesn't get a chance to answer, you know, to dominate all the questions. And he certainly shouldn't be having a debate. That's not the purpose of a journalist, to debate the president. What he could do is after his asked a question, then he reports on it in his story. And if he wants to, he can editorialize and say, and the president didn't answer this and that. And he can basically say whatever he wants. But the point of the press conference isn't for James Acosta to have the floor and debate the president. But they're making a big deal out of whether he struck the woman, didn't strike the woman. But that is what they're making a big deal over. And it's interesting. The media is saying he never struck her and, well, never touched her. He actually did. I mean, it's clear from the video. And Acosta is now, I think, suing to get his press pass back, which he's not entitled. No one is entitled to a press pass. I mean, it's a very big privilege, but I'm sure he's going to try to find some legal reason as to why he should have that press pass. Now, as I mentioned, in Florida, Georgia, and Arizona, they're still counting votes. It looks like Florida, after they counted all the votes, first there was a pretty, not a big margin, but there was a 70,000, 80,000 vote margin in the gubernatorial race and in the Senate race, both in favor of the Republican candidates. And then they kept finding votes after the polls closed, only in Broward County and Palm Beach counties with both Democratic strongholds. But they're still up. But they're still going to have a recount, and we'll see how that goes. Georgia, I'm not sure what's going on there, whether that one's going to be recounted. Arizona looks like the Republican is going to lose in that one. But Trump did notice that as soon as the Democrats basically lost, they sent their, quote, best election-stealing lawyer to Broward County, and they started finding votes. And then he says, don't worry, I'm sending better lawyers to expose the fraud. And then he noted that there's signatures that don't match in Arizona. Very, very troubling that it's only Broward County has this problem. They had this problem in 2000 with the Gore and Bush presidential race, and that eventually ended up having to go to the Supreme Court. Now, they did arrest 9 people in the Texas Attorney General's office for voter fraud. I'm very surprised when people say there is no voter fraud, you can't have fraud. Of course you can. You can file provisional ballots. They get counted. Then you can file them in 10 different places. Tens and hundreds of people can file them. Even if they eventually catch it, which they don't catch everybody, they'll have already certified the election results. So it's easy to ballot stuff, especially when you may have in a district where you don't have someone from the other side even watching. You just put more ballots in. I don't know why people think they insist that it can't happen. I guess no one wants to believe that maybe a lot of elected officials weren't elected properly. Who knows? And you have this woman, Brenda Stipes, down in Miami. They're saying that she had put in some provisional ballots that were filed or submitted by illegal aliens. She was also, they said that she'd burned some ballots. So of course you can. When there's human involvement in the voting process and there's a lot at stake, of course you can have fraud. I don't like to insist there's no fraud. The only way you couldn't have fraud is everyone was assigned a particular number and they were on a blockchain and it was all independently verified and they could actually tell your vote and it was encrypted so they couldn't say who you voted for, and they can only count the votes if you can match them. You can construct such a system and you can actually construct it so it can be hacked. But we got 1950s technology and earlier in most of this stuff, and then you have those machines where the thing switches your vote. I'm sorry, I think there's plenty of capability to commit fraud in these elections. Now, Tesla. No news on Tesla this week, but VW plans to sell an electric Tesla for less than 23 large. Now, that's going to be a pretty big deal, I believe. People want to have Teslas. All right, we covered Rosenstein. We covered Collins, Flake, and Romney worrying about Mueller and his probe, making sure that everything stays as it is. Now, Trump, I'm going to play this because this is... I laugh when I hear it. I mean, it's rude and it's just... But it actually makes his point because one of the reporters wants to ask him whether Whitaker is going to recuse himself or whether Whitaker is going to... does he want Whitaker, the new acting attorney general, to rein in Mueller, to shut him down? And I know what Trump is doing. He's allowing the Mueller investigation to go on. He's letting everyone get all excited because he knows that he has his documents that he can declassify if there's anything. He probably knows exactly what he did or didn't do, and he probably figures he didn't do nothing. So he's not worried about Russian collusion. He's probably worried about Mueller coming up with charges against his kids for something. But the point is that he is trying to act as if he's not concerned about the Russian investigation, and he's certainly not going to instruct Whitaker to do anything about it because that would fuel the fire. So here's Trump on just before he went out to he flew out to France. So I guess it was Friday when he went to France. And listen to what he says and how he deals with this reporter. And now remember, he's already told Acosta to sit down and get out, and they've restricted his press credentials. He then said April Ryan was a loser, unprompted. She wasn't even saying anything, but when he was asked about Acosta, he threw her under the bus and said she was a loser. And now with this reporter, she's asking him whether he wants to rein in Mueller. And, well, I'm going to let you listen to what he says. Okay, here we go. Actually, you're not going to hear it. I have the version where it just has the picture of him. What he says, it should come out. I'm surprised if it doesn't. I guess it's not going to come out on here, is it? Guess not. He says, what a stupid question that is. And he says, that's a stupid question. Then he says, oh, here it is. It's going to come up.
To be involved in the Russia probe. Do you want him to...
It's up to him.
Do you want him to rein in Robert Mueller?
What a stupid question that is. What a stupid question. But I watch you a lot. You ask a lot of stupid questions.
Well, there he is, endearing himself to the press. You ask a lot of stupid questions. I watch you a lot, he said. All right. What else have we got during the week? Before we're going to get into our JP Morgan story, I promise we're going to go through that. U.S. crude production. People are finally catching on. I've been talking about this for 4 years. That because the United States is really boosting its oil production, at some point it was going to pass Saudi Arabia. And then I said, well, if it passes Saudi Arabia, then the whole Saudi Arabia's oil backing the dollar, the petrodollar, becomes less relevant because countries are going to need dollars to buy oil from the United States. And that's exactly what's happening. There was a thing in Zero Hedge showing that U.S. crude oil production has well passed Saudi Arabia and Russia. Now, I don't believe that the petrodollars is relevant anymore today because countries hold dollars for reasons far in excess of the amount of dollars they need to buy oil from Saudi Arabia. But now they need dollars to buy oil from Saudi Arabia and the United States. In fact, U.S. is now the world's largest crude oil producer, and they also produce lots of liquefied natural gas and coal. So the idea that the petrodollar, China is gonna force Saudi Arabia to accept the yuan, and then they're gonna back it with gold, all this nonsense, and that's gonna crush the dollar. Nonsense. By the way, the dollar index is over 97 right now, and the game-changing gold-backed yuan has cratered and is almost 7-1. Remember 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, China to crush the dollar, to issue a gold-backed yuan. It would be a game changer. And the yuan was going to be a world international reserve currency, and the dollar was toast. And China had it going on. This is before people even knew about all this stuff about the social credit score and Sun Tzu. Yep. Mauriset. Gold 50,000. What is this? Oh, there's a video. You can't see it here. You can watch it on the Smaulgld tomorrow about a guy who took a train ride, and he's on the train in China, and they're telling him, let me see if you can hear it. I think you can hear it. They're telling him, watch out. We're listening. We can reduce your social credit score if you don't do what we want you to do on this train. And he put in the, yeah, you can probably hear this. Let's see if I can play it for you.
People who travel without tickets or behave disorderly or smoking public areas will be punished according to regulations, and the behavior will be recorded in the individual credit information system. To avoid any negative record of personal credit, please follow the relevant regulations.
Yeah, better cut that off. Basically, she's saying if you don't follow the regulations, we're going to record your problems in your social credit, and then you're going to be hosed, and you won't be able to ride the train anymore. You won't be able to buy property, and so on. But China's got gold, and they're going to crush the dollar. Gold back yuan. That's one of the gold pumper stories. They still talk about it. Sun Tzu. China plays the long game. Well, they also announced during the week that China has more distressed corporate debt than all of emerging markets combined. In the span of just 11 months, China went from having no distressed dollar-denominated corporate bonds to having more than any other emerging market country combined. China's forex reserves hit an 18-month low amid trade war and pressure. And there was another one where they showed that China has $600 billion worth of bad debt. The country's not in good shape, and you have this company we talked about last night with the pork-backed yuan because the company can't pay its debt. It's got to hand out ham gift baskets. Yeah, my gold-backed yuan, China to crush the dollar, my Belt and Road, Sun Tzu, total U.S.-Chinese denominated debt in the last 12 months, $614 billion. It's all due coming up, plus the $40-50 trillion of domestic debt that they don't have to worry about. Of course not. They don't have to worry about 50 trillion debt. That's a foolish argument. That's like saying the United States doesn't have to worry about Social Security because they owe it to themselves. You never hear the gold pumpers or the China apologists. They always say, oh, the United States has $150 trillion of unfunded liabilities. Yeah, but it's owed to ourselves. It's no big deal. No, of course that's not. That's a bad argument. But they allow themselves to make that argument in defense of China because China has gold, and China is their gold buddy and is going to crush the dollar. All right, let's get into J.P. Morgan. If you've been waiting for that, I apologize. We're going to talk about this J.P. Morgan case, and unfortunately, it's not really going to help us out here with this case. So, well, here's what happened. I'm going to tell you what happened, and I'm going to tell you what I think it means. So there's this trader, J.P. Morgan. He's 36 years old. He's a vice president, and he pleads guilty to commodities fraud and a spoofing conspiracy. He doesn't work there anymore. They bring the charges. He pleads guilty, and he was found guilty of committing fraud in, I think it was all the precious metals markets. It was in the gold market, the silver market, the platinum market, and the palladium, the futures. And what he had been done was he was doing a little spoofing. Now, spoofing is a way of making trades or making it look like you're going to make trades, and then you don't actually make them. You're like, I got it, I got it, I got it, I ain't got it. You just don't make the trade, but you throw up your bid or your offer, but you have an intent the whole time that you're going to cancel before the order gets filled. Now, what happens is, because you have your high-frequency traders and your algorithms, they see that and they're like, oh, okay, so someone's going to throw in a big buy order. Someone's going to throw in a big sell order. So they try to run them. They try to bet on the basis of an algorithmic formula that they're either going to buy or sell. Now, of course, if the guy's got no intention of buying or selling, but he's only spoofing the markets, he can then execute trades and basically he can make the market go one way, and then he can bet the other way, or he can bet with the market. Whatever he wants to do, he knows what's going to happen to the market, so he can place his bet and win. Now, it's kind of hard it's fraudulent, but it happens so often because you can also legitimately decide you don't want to make your trade. In other words, you're spoofing, but I mean, you're intending on placing the trade. How do you tell whether somebody is going to place the trade and they say, and I don't want to do it? Well, you can't tell them they're not allowed not to make the order, but there's got to be something. But what happened in this case, this guy was convicted or found guilty for doing this for 5 years. Now, it's important the time period, 2009 to 2015. So what happened between 2009 and 2015? Well, from 2009 to 2011, we were on a rocket ride on gold and silver. From 2011 to 2015, we were heading down. My understanding of what happened here is this guy, I don't know this, but I'm putting the pieces together. He is not part of any type of overall manipulative scheme to drive the price down, because he's trying to make money, and what he did goes on in all the markets. In other words, you can do this with Apple stock. You can spoof any market. It doesn't have to be precious metals. It just happened that he was in precious metals. And he was probably doing, because the DOJ press release doesn't say that he was suppressing the market and always doing short spoofing. It just says that, let me get to the exact point where he said where they said from 2009 through 2005, he conspired with other precious metals traders at the bank to manipulate the gold, silver, and platinum contracts traded on the COMEX, which are operated by the CME Group. And then it says, he and his fellow precious metals trader at the bank routinely placed orders for precious metals futures contracts with the intent of canceling those orders before execution. That's your spoof order. And he admitted to doing this. And he also admitted that he did this with other traders and that he did it with his supervisor's knowledge or consent. And then he says, or the press release says, that the trading strategy was admitted. It was intended to inject materially false and misleading liquidity and price information into the precious metals futures contracts through these spoof orders in order to deceive other market participants about the existence of supply and demand. Okay, so far, that's just manipulation. Then it says, the spoof orders were designed to artificially move the price of precious metals futures contracts in a direction that was favorable to Edmonds and his co-conspirators at the bank, to the detriment of other market participants. So basically, what he was doing was, he would go long if they were going short, he would go short if they were going long, and then he would win because of the spoof. He would create the momentum in the direction that he wanted it to go. But nothing in the guilty plea says he was doing it always to the downside. Now, this spoofing clearly can move the precious metals markets to the downside. In fact, the spoof is even worse than naked shorting, because you're not even on the hook for it, because you say you're going to short, or you put a short order in and then you cancel it. You don't even ever have to execute it. So who knows? I mean, this guy could be one guy that spoofs all the time. There's other people probably spoofing if they're part of a manipulative scheme. But I think what this guy was doing was for his own benefit, because again, it doesn't have to be precious metals. You're a spoofer and you're moving the market one way and you know what's going to happen because you got a big spoof order in and you just collect your money. Look, he was doing it for 6 years. And I'm sure he was doing it on the way up in 2009. I don't think he was doing it as part of a manipulative scheme. However, he could have been part of a manipulative scheme because the other traders would know what he was doing. They could be shorting. And then we also see, remember, in conjunction with spoofing, a lot of people are acting on it. Well, who knows? And they'd have to really investigate this. This guy spoofs, and then somebody actually executes a dump order of a short sell. And that really drives the price down. So I'm worried that this is just the guy who's going to get in trouble for manipulating the markets. No different than if he was manipulating any other market, because you can spoof and win both ways and it's illegal. But it doesn't show that he or JP Morgan were acting to suppress the price of silver. It shows that they were acting to push the price in an opposite direction in order to win the trade. It's still illegal, but it doesn't get to the core of they were pushing the price of the silver down on purpose, because I'm sure there's trades in there, and if they are pushing the price of silver down on purpose, they probably also push it up so it never looks like, you know, they spoof up, they spoof down, so it never looks like they're doing any pattern, at least with respect to the spoofer. But maybe with respect to actual trades, when they do those naked shorts, that could be deemed price suppression. However, they can always say, well, we just wanted to go short then. And the court's always going to say, we're not going to determine whether you're a good trader or a bad trader. You know, if that's what you did, that's what you did. The difference is you can get somebody on spoofing because it's illegal. It's not illegal to be a moron and throw a bunch of naked shorts at something and lose money. You know, that's not illegal. It's illegal, though, to spoof. All right, I'll leave you the press release in tomorrow's notes for those of you who go to the Smaulgld website. By the way, you can get tonight, I want to mention this. I know someone last night really liked that new Smaulgld mug, the beer stein, 22 ounces. Everything in the Smaulgld store tonight is 40% off. So if you go there tonight, you can get 40% off on the Smaulgld products that are in the store, and that includes that stein, that beer stein you're looking at. I think that's $24.99, but I think with the discount it's like $14, and you can get the travel mug, which is normally $27. That's down to probably $16, $17, and there's t-shirts and hats in the site. Now, if you want the links, you go back to the top of the chat. I have the links there, and you can check it out. All right, let's get back to, but please check those out because this is a rare offer that's 40% off. I don't control that portion of the e-commerce. If you want the Smaulgld Classic and Super Classic mugs, those I send from Smaulgld headquarters. I wrap those up myself. I write a note. I sometimes put in a game-changing eraser, and I go to the post office and drop those off. That's the regular coffee mugs. But if you want the beer stein or the frosted mug or the travel mug, they're available right now for 40% off. It's tonight only. There's a little code you get, and you can order them. The links to those offers are at the top of the chat. You just scroll up on the chat and get there and order your mugs that way. All right, let's get on to the other stories, and then I'll get to your questions if you have any questions about this spoofing and what this means. Now, Venezuela wanted to get back $550 million worth of gold that they were keeping at the Bank of England, and England said, sorry, can't have it. Now, what are they going to do? Invade them? That's why they say you got to hold on to it yourself. That's why a lot of companies repatriated their gold. Can't trust somebody. Yeah, you own it, and eventually you can sue whatever they want to do. It's going to take them years to get it back if England doesn't want to give it to them. All right, let's see what's happening in the crypto. Not much in the crypto markets this week. Last week was a big week. There's a lot coming up, I believe, with potentially approving or disapproving ETFs. Backed the Microsoft, New York Stock Exchange, Starbucks venture. Supposed to go live sometime in December. That is a trading platform. You can buy, sell, physically delivered futures, storage. ETFs may come out. Fidelity and TD Ameritrade are going to have crypto trading platforms. But I think right now we're in a period where A lot of work is going on behind the scenes, but people are just not paying much attention to cryptocurrencies. Price isn't moving very much, and I think we'll probably be into for some fireworks in a few weeks, if not sooner. But nothing's going on right now. We've seen this before in the crypto space. Price gets hit, goes down 40, 50, 60%. Everybody thinks, okay, that's it. No one's interested in this stuff anymore. Forget about it. And then they come roaring back on some news. Or not saying it's going to happen again, but that has been the pattern. It's the only bubble, you know, when they say it's like tulips. The crypto markets, especially Bitcoin, have spiked ridiculously and crashed 3 or 4 times. I remember in 2013, it went from like $40 to $1,000, and then it crashed. Well, then it went from $2,000 to $20,000, and then it crashed. People are expecting that's going to be the way it goes for the next 5 years. I don't know, but it is a different type of bubble. I know, so it's ever different. No, it is. When tulips crashed, they never, ever, ever became that valuable again. When Bitcoin crashed in 2013, it became 20 times more valuable in the next bubble. So it's kind of like this, seems like it has this evergreen bubble. All right, what else we got? Bitcoin, well, Square, which is what Jack Dorsey runs, it's a payment platform. They recorded $42.4 million of third quarter Bitcoin revenue. That's up from 0 in the third quarter of 2017. So things are happening. You're just not seeing it. Now, they're saying that the volatility of Bitcoin is the lowest in nearly 2 years. Now, what happened 2 years ago? It was flat for the longest time, and then all of a sudden, boom, it went from $1,200 to $20,000. Bcash is going to have a fork on November 15th. We're not going to cover that. Yellen got sent some Bitcoin, and now she owns it, but she's not a big fan of it. Goldman Sachs signing up customers for its Bitcoin trading product, according to a report in Yahoo. And Citigroup is looking at a new digital asset receipt for Bitcoin. So all the big banks are getting involved in, I think that's the next bubble, is when Wall Street gets involved in this crypto stuff and it starts to head higher. It's my guess, my prediction. It's not investment advice. You can lose all your money in this stuff. I'm not telling you to do anything, that's for sure. I'm not telling you it's going to be a game changer set to skyrocket. No. In fact, I have Bitcoin pumping and Litecoin.pumping.com and Gold Pumper. Gwyneth Paltrow is pumping Bitcoin, according to an article you can see tomorrow. I'll link to it on Smaulgld.com. There's a lot of pumping going on. This guy, Galaxy Digital's Novogratz. Here's his pump. After taking out 6,800, Bitcoin will hit new highs in 2019. So he's fully expecting $20,000 plus. This one guy I listened to, this Anthony Pompliano, he's some kind of investor, but he was interviewing some guy. He's got a $10 million Bitcoin price prediction and some kind of rationale behind it. So there's all kinds of pumping going on in Bitcoin. Here's one. Overstock CEO predicts cryptocurrencies. I can't even read the rest of it. He's pumping it. But let's see. Any gold? There was no gold or silver pumper stories. And that's about it for the review of the week. I want to thank everyone for joining. But I will get to your comments now. Let's take a look now at what we got waiting for us. We got a lot of people here tonight. And Roger Henley is saying tonight is the Monday the 12th because he's in Australia. That's right. Demanis has asked if JP Morgan manipulation is a game changer. No. Travel mugs are game changers. Remember, you can get your travel mugs. Great price tonight. What's going on here? I'm losing the comments. I really don't like this. I can't read the comments now because... Let's see if I can get the live chat going. There we go. Whoa. Let's see. Andrew, yeah. Do you make more off a super classic? No, let me explain it. Thank you very much. When you order your classic or super classic, I've priced them actually at a loss because the one I price at $19.95, but I have paid shipping, and depending on where you live, the shipping is a little less for the classic, the cheaper one, because it's in a different type of container. The super classic is $23.99 with free priority shipping. It comes in a more bulky box. It's more expensive to ship. I've just finished, you don't need to know this, but my first round of couple of boxes I purchased at a higher price. I will start making a couple of dollars per mug on after I sell the last 6 that I am looking at. I have 4 classic and 2 super classic mugs left at the old price where I lose money shipping them. But I got to clear those out, and then I start making money. So buy the one that you want. Don't buy to help me out, Andrew. But thank you very much. All right, let's go back now. And I will send it out tomorrow if you order tonight. But if you order those other mugs, I don't send those. They go directly from the manufacturer. But you do get that 40% discount. And if you want to know, I make a couple of bucks on each of those items. Actually, I'll make less. With the discount, they discount my extra. I'll probably make $1.12 or something like that. But anyway, they're good to have. And I like when people have Smaulgld mugs because they are indeed game changers, as Demanis says. Game over for silver manipulation. Getting Cohen indicted put evidence in the evidence locker. Absolutely. Why would you think that's part of the plan? That's not part of the plan. Exactly. Trust the plan. Game over. Are there really dummies who actually buy those mugs? Asked Mystery versus Mystery. My big fan. Yes, there are. And there's really dummies who listen to some of the silver pumper channels that you listen to as well, that are telling you the gold silver ratio is going to be 9-to-1, 1-to-1. Yeah, there's people who do listen to people that have YouTube channels that tell you gold and silver for the last 10 years are set to skyrocket. And there's going to be a gold back you on game changer. Yep, there really are dummies who listen to people on YouTube. Thanks for pointing it out, Mystery versus Mystery. Caravan died of cholera. Right. When the dust settles, will they have to liquidate all PM holdings? Who Hedgehog is asking. I don't know what you're talking about. If so, won't that make spot prices fall further? I don't know what you're referring to, but yes, when people sell holdings, that is what happens. Miser says, I feel sorry for anyone who doesn't have a mug. They are game changers. They are. Invasion, an unwelcome intrusion into another's domain. Yet, Kevin, they really do. It's interesting with these words. I saw Macron said today that patriotism is not nationalism, or something like that. They're really doing the 1984 thing. It's not an invasion when it is an invasion. It's unbelievable what they talk about and how they redefine words. Heads rolling finds jail. Mystery versus Mystery's got his mugs there. He's in a happy mood tonight. You know, the best thing to do is to get the beer mug. If you're gonna drink and listen to this podcast, I'm not encouraging you to do that, but if you're gonna do it anyway, you might as well do it in a Smaulgld 22-ounce mug. There's also a 16-ounce frosted mug over at the Smaulgld store. Pfizer brings down the house. Doesn't matter. That's right, but you didn't need to go through this 2 years of whatever. Steve Hall says gold is aggressively manipulated because it's a barbaric relic. Well, you know why they manipulate it. It's because it's a threat to it's a threat to the fiat currencies. Bitcoin manipulation is not even mentioned yet, but it's a problem as well. That's clearly the case. That's why they came out with the futures. And actually, that's why, Cal Holy, I haven't seen you here before, but that's why I actually believe the next bubble that they're going to pump is cryptocurrencies, because they can pump those things wherever they want. Everyone say, oh, they're not worth anything. You have to remember, it doesn't matter what anything is worth. We've already seen the ability of the central banks and the governments to push prices wherever they want. And if they want a bubble, the best place, I think, if they want a bubble, is cryptocurrencies. You could justify any valuation because there's no earnings. You just say, oh, it's worth more, and everyone wants them, and they buy them, and they go higher. And they shave, and they sell, and they buy, and they trade, and they have trading platforms, and they make trading fees and storage fees. I just think I don't think there's a lot of value there. I think that they're going to make it a lot of value. Look at all the companies that are out in the last 10, 15 years, haven't made a dime. Doesn't stop Wall Street from pumping them up to, think about it. Tesla doesn't make any money. It's worth $38 billion. That's like 3 years worth of silver annual production. It's unbelievable. That's why I don't believe in cryptocurrencies as per se, as they say, but I do believe that they want to pump them into a mega bubble because Wall Street's been on a bubble, looking for the next bubble since 1987. Bernanke and Yellen have said so. We need a real, Krugman said we need a real estate bubble. Greenspan said we need to pump the real estate market up. Bernanke and Yellen said we need to push asset prices up. Well, there's a point where you can only push them so high, and then you need a new bubble. Well, that's what cryptocurrencies, in my view, is what's going to happen. I don't know which ones. I don't know how it's going to do, but I know they want to do ICOs that are registered, that Wall Street pumps, that Silicon Valley pumps, not your YouTubers pumping off a white paper. It's all manipulated. Yep, all free markets are manipulated when there are those who have access to free money. Exactly. Costa is banned from the White House, is Pablo Pena. John Cooper, not to mention all the stuff that Jim has pulled, like Singapore trying to sabotage the meeting. Yeah, and he was in Korea yelling. Have you made any progress yet? Have you made any progress yet, Mr. President? Yeah, it's amazing how they're circling the wagons, Caholi. He says, Costa's terrible. It makes CNN look bad and media in general look bad. They're trying to make it sound like he's the victim here. He's not. I don't care. To me, I saw the interaction between the girl and him. What he did was, I think, was a reflex. Like someone comes to take the microphone and your hand moves. I think the main thing was he wouldn't sit down. He wouldn't shut up. And he does that all the time. Yep, they all tell you what you want to hear. In Florida, they won't let the press cover the recount or threatening arresting journalists. Just actually, I think there was a picture of Representative Getz. They threw him away from trying to like view or watch what was going on with the ballots. Caholi, damn, how there's not more viewers on here. Well, I'll tell you why, Caholi. I've been at this for a while, and I think the podcast, I think what I produce has I have a lot of content. I research a lot of stuff. I don't pump, and I think that's the reason. People want to hear narratives. They don't want to hear a different story every night. Like I come up with different stuff every night. It's never all on the same theme. The only theme I have is the Game Changer theme, which is mocking all of these other channels that are constantly pumping a narrative. Whether it's QAnon or silver to the moon or Bitcoin to the moon or Litecoin is the right coin, whatever they come up with. JP Morgan has got 7 trillion ounces of silver and it's set to skyrocket. People want to hear that stuff. People like to hear the same thing. They want confirmation that they're not losing money, that they're actually just saving in ounces, which I think is ridiculous. And of course, if you like gold or silver, you listen to me and you're like, oh, wait, it's not going to go to $10 million? I'm not going to become rich next week? No, you'd rather go onto a channel by the thousands and listen to somebody tell you why it's just around the corner. Well, anyway. Same race, different laps. So that's 1984. Yep. They roll it out, and we the people do nothing, say nothing, and think nothing of it, says Cal Holy. They are brainwashing people into an action has been completed. You know, my theory on Q is that is an opposition result in that, you think about it, what does trust the plan mean? It means do nothing. Don't protest Sessions doing nothing. Don't protest. That's all part of the plan. Q wanted exactly what the left and the Dems wanted. Sessions to stay there and be inept and do nothing. But instead, Q's out there, trust the plan. So basically, trust the plan means do nothing and smirk to yourself that things are all going your way. Yeah, well, that's great. If I can convince my political opponents that everything's going their way, well, I'm clobbering them left and right. That's quite a scam there, I think. Trust the scam. Yep, finally, ex-trader. Kevin Van Alsten. Gold is the money of kings. Silver is the money of merchants. That is the merchant of slavery. Yep. Hedgehog, fall guy. But where does copper fit into that? Copper is so useful. We could not live our lives without copper. Without copper, we would not have electricity. Copper shield, copper bullet. All right, fall guy. That's why you never admit anything, says Caholi. You need to stay under the radar to stay alive, says Hedgehog. This is Caholi, there doesn't need to be a scheme to drive down the price. It's systematically built through fractional reserve banking. When you can sell more silver than your own price falls, it's systemic. Well, it's not just that. It creates in people's mind, why bother? And it also creates, it's self-fulfilling. You're right. It makes people think it's going down, so it goes down. They don't think about it. You can make the price go down without even short selling. Short selling itself means you don't have the silver, but you sell it anyway. Spoofing means you were intending on selling silver that you don't have, and then you decide not to sell it anyway, and the price goes down. So that's how they get you coming and going. What happened to the video about shortages? Spoofing is a game changer, absolutely. Roger Henley. 40% discount, that's game changers. Does that include the same discount on international postage? No, the postage is always the postage, but the discount is the discount. So Andrew has ordered his mug, he says, and most people prefer the super classic. the super classic mug look, but I go back and forth on both of them. All right, let's see. Pump, ha. Okay. They all work together like Gordon Brown selling UK gold to help Goldman Sachs, his full name. Yes, and also, remember the Swiss National Bank had to sell 60% of their gold to join the IMF. I mean, when they joined in like 2000. Even the Vatican's been involved in the past, he says. Normally, mug is like $1 in Poland, kind of like paying $200 per 1 ounce silver. Now, Kaholi, here, I'm going to challenge you on this one. You say, silver's mined 9-to-1, so it's not out of the question. First of all, that may be true. But remember, you may not have been on these streams before, relative rarity is not dispositive for price. And, I'm going to go through both of them. Not only is it not dispositive on price, I'll do this one first. For example, platinum is more rare than gold by a factor of 10. They pull 10 times more gold out of the ground than platinum. And where's the price of platinum? Gold is worth 1.5 times platinum. So relative rarity is not dispositive of price. For example, and a more germane, I've made 3 paintings in my life. My paintings are very rare. Picasso literally has made thousands of paintings. Whose paintings are worth more? Picasso's, because they're more desired. Gold is clearly more desired for jewelry. It's more desired as a monetary asset than silver. In addition, what comes out of the ground is not in most cases the overall supply. So for example, you can stop mining gold tomorrow. Or let's say you cut it by 30-40%. That would still be more than you had being mined 6 years ago, because they've really mined a lot in the last 6 years. And there's stockpiles of gold and silver. So just how much it comes out of the ground, that certainly not dispositive on the relative rarity, causing a price differential. And the amount that comes out of the ground doesn't necessarily add that much to the overall stocks of gold and silver available. So it kind of doesn't make it probable because it's only 9-to-1. It's not really that relevant of an input into my analysis. All right. Full name. They all talk to each other. Have you not seen the transcripts? Yes, I have. Yes, but that was a different case. I actually covered that a while back. It was a couple of years ago. Yeah, they're all. And the thing is, but this market manipulation that they're now uncovering in gold and silver, it happens in all the markets, I'm sure. The real issue that concerns gold and silver investors is not people manipulating markets so they can make money, but manipulating markets so that they're trying to purposely suppress it, and they haven't been able to really nail anyone and stop them from doing that. JP Morgan has enough inventory to be a game changer if they're told, oh, I see what you're saying. But if JP Morgan doesn't own that silver and that's just held for clients, then they're not going to sell it, and there's no indication that they own that. So, yeah, Tesla's worth $60 billion, says Jeffrey Gotts. That's right. And a year's worth of silver mining production, 800 million ounces or so, is worth like 12 million. It's like $12 billion. It's like 5 years worth of silver. And you could buy Tesla. And Tesla, think about it, if you had $60 billion, would you buy Tesla and take over the whole company? No way. Why? What would you get out of it? It doesn't produce any income. You'd get Elon Musk. And that's it. The only reason Tesla has any value is people want to buy its stock. But why do they want to buy its stock? I don't know. You don't get dividends. There's no income. If you took it private, you wouldn't make any money. Andrew, they will pump those cryptos sky high. That's my view. If this stuff, and the reason the regulators don't seem to have any problem with it, I mean, they have go to sec.gov/ICO. They want you to register your ICOs. Why? SEC gets fees, and their banker buddies and lawyer buddies and accountant buddies all make money. All right. Let's see. Metals will go down. Could be, Soyan Guy. If speculative money starts chasing cryptos, that's just less money that can trace speculative silver or even speculative gold. Hedgehog. The old ratio was determined many years ago when silver was mostly coinage silverware. Now it's a worldwide major industrial metals. Inventories are low. Well, first of all, the old ratio often was set by governments when they wanted to introduce a bimetallic standard. So they had to pick a number, and they did pick it on relative rarity, but that doesn't mean that's what the market valued the two metals at. Silver was always pocket change. It was never the store of value that gold was. A lot of people miss that, and that's why central banks aren't stacking silver. It's used to be considered useful as a currency, so you can trade it because it was cool. You can divide it up, mix it with a little copper, it lasts for a while. But it was never considered like you would stack silver as a store of value the way you would gold. Watching a compilation of that Acosta guy. Yeah, he really is. I mean, it's unbelievable. No viewers because metals are dead. No, Solian guy. Go to the metal channels. I don't want to name them and send more viewers their way. They get far more visits. And I don't just cover precious metals. I cover precious metals, the economy, cryptocurrencies, occasionally what's going on in the political scene or the geopolitical. So when did you start streaming? Oh, 2-3 months ago. They have killed the sentiment. They will let them rise. But when I don't know says full name. Yes, I agree with that. We'll all be dead before metals ever pop, says Solian guy. Maybe our children will benefit. That's what a lot of people are counting on. The next generation, says Solian guy, care nothing about metals and be using nothing but digital currency. That's true. And if you think about younger people, they don't have LPs. They don't even have CDs. They don't even have VHS or DVDs. They consume all their media digitally, online. They're not interested in owning stuff. They don't collect baseball cards. They don't have stuff. It's the boomers that have like storage units full of junk. I heard somebody the other day was saying he was antiquing. Who does antiquing? But he was, and he was saying that you can get all this amazing antique furniture, and that's because no one wants it. Because first of all, boomers get rid of it. They give it to their kids, and their kids are like, "What am I going to do with this old chair?" So they sell it. And they sell it for cheap because who's going to buy it? Another old boomer. Well, they stopped buying stuff by now. And so the millennials either don't have the money for that kind of stuff or they don't want it. All right. Bank of England not returning Venezuela's gold. Yes, that is the story, Steve-O. Solian guy on black pill. They hope metals pop, but I don't think it'll ever happen. That could be right. Demanis, I think Q makes up to mess with everyone. It's been proved Q is real and Q is Trump. That could be. That I could believe that Q is Trump, but he also could be messing with people. That's true. There's so many different theories. I don't say for sure that my theory is correct because I haven't studied enough, but there are people that are convinced whatever their theory is. And you should never be convinced of something that you can't prove. Because if you're convinced of something you can't prove, it's generally because you've drank the Kool-Aid and you want to believe it. So you believe it, and then you get mad at people who don't believe what you believe. Did U.S. ever pay Germany back their gold they asked for a few years ago? Yes, they did. And I've covered that. You can go to the Smaulgld site. Look up Smaulgld, gold repatriation. I've got a number of stories on that. They do have the gold that they had asked for back. Yes. Andrew says, Mug, order support content you like, guys. Yes, I agree. If you want to support Smaulgld, you know what else you can do? I have 18 patrons. I'm very proud of that. Far less than most other people have. But I like my patrons. I communicate with them a lot via email. I'll give you the link for that if you want to join. It says I got to sign in. I am signed in. Unbelievable. Last night they cut me off a chat. There we go. I think maybe I can get in. Maybe they cut me off already. Let's see. Unbelievable. Last night they cut me off. Look at that. I don't even know. I think I'm cut off. Am I cut off? I think I'm cut off. Am I cut off? Let's see. Oh, let me know if you guys can hear me. I think I got cut off. The real problem with metal futures is no one ever takes delivery. Yeah. But you know why? They don't want it. If you want gold or you want silver, you buy it. You don't go on COMEX. You trade. You're there to make fiat profits. You're not there to take delivery. That's not really a problem. That's a feature, so to speak. If you want to buy gold or silver, you go to a broker or you go to SD Bullion. You go somewhere and you buy it. You don't trade. In fact, bullion dealers. Oh, good. Thanks, Flame Tonko. You can hear me. I had to sign in to give you that link for the patron. Here's the thing, Kaholi, about futures that people, they get pissed off. They don't understand. And they keep talking about COMEX default. Someone's going to stand for delivery. That's complete nonsense. the futures contracts for COMEX are there for commercial traders because they want to make fiat profits. They might as well be trading Beanie Baby. They don't really care what they're trading. In fact, I did an interview the other night with James Henry Anderson over at Silver Doctors, and we were talking about this. The LBMA woman was having a conference with a bunch of the LBMA members, major traders, and there was a guy there. He'd been trading for 30 years and never actually seen or held a gold bar. So they don't want the delivery. They're not there for that. And also, a lot of bullion dealers actually sell short contracts all the time. They buy silver. Okay, let's say they go out and they buy $1 million worth of silver eagles. Well, if the price keeps going down, they're going to lose money as they sell it. Remember, when you buy online, a silver bullion dealer, he charges you, or the company charges you a price. That is the current market price. But let's say you buy your silver eagles when the price of silver is $14, and you pay the $2 plus premium that you got to pay to the authorized purchasers to get them, and then the price goes down to $10. You don't just hold on to them. You have to sell them for $10. Well, how are you going to make any money? Well, you make it up in volume, and I'm not kidding. You do make it up in volume, because if you short sell an equal amount of the silver that you buy, and all big bullion dealers do this, then you don't care about the price. All you care about is how many you sell. Because if the price goes down, then you make money on your short, and then you make money on the volume of the ones you sell, and you make the 25 cents, 30 cents per coin that you sell. So that is not a problem with the futures market. That is a feature. Some of your biggest short sellers are bullion dealers hedging their inventory. And then the other ones, they're just there. They don't care. They're there to make money. They're actually just following charts. They don't even care about supply demand, really. They're just focused on their trades. Again, if you want to buy gold or silver, you buy it. You don't generally buy contracts. Sometimes, I wish I could pull out the links right now, but I've done this many times. I've shown how much silver and gold actually gets delivered at COMEX, and it's a very small percentage of all contracts. Most contracts just roll over or expire by their terms. They generally don't take delivery at all. And there's enough gold or silver there if people wanted to take it. They just don't want it. It's not really it's a problem because there's no reason why there needs to be a futures contract in gold or silver. No one needs to hedge an amount of gold. Maybe silver because you need it for industry. But gold, there's no reason to have it. It's only there to manipulate the price, in my opinion. Jack Howitzer, do you think silver has found a bottom? Some say way below production cost. That's another issue. Even if you go below production cost, that doesn't mean that the price of silver has to rise or stay above the production cost, because, again, there's other silver that can be brought to market that isn't part of a primary silver miner. And also, there's silver that's produced below the cost of or at much lower cost as a byproduct when they produce zinc, copper, tin, and so on. And 70% of silver is mined as a secondary byproduct. So even if the primary silver miners have issues with getting below production cost, there's still a lot of silver being mined below cost as part of a secondary process in mining base metals. And there's also lots of silver lying around in other stockpiles. Production should be reduced, then supply and demand have to work. Well, you would think. Kaholi, same with Bitcoin. There is no need for an ETF other than price control manipulation. Absolutely. All right. All right, everyone. Well, that is about it for tonight. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow night. And Andrew, if you did send, I do not see your order. I just don't see it, but maybe it'll be coming through. But thank you very much for that. Thank you very much.